What's up, guys? Welcome to Operation B, the podcast. I am your host, Jamie Thurber, and I am here to take you on a journey of deepening, of expansion, of understanding more about who you are and why you're here and how to operate in an optimal way that allows you to do what you want to do, feel how you want to feel, take care of yourself truly, and support everything that your heart desires. What's up? Welcome back to another episode of Operation B. I'm Jamie Thurber, your host here. Thank you for being here. I thought of something. If you're new to the podcast, you may not have any idea who I am, so I thought I'd give you a little tidbit. I realized on the first episode, I just jumped right into what we're doing here and how and why and what you can expect. So if you don't know, I have been a coach in the online space for almost 10 years. I also have a very rich background in project management. That's how I first started out online. My experience in brick and mortar was in the automotive industry. I've also worked in insurance and construction, like landscaping construction. So I've been running businesses since my senior year of high school. And then it's a really long story, but I led my way here, and someday I'll tell you, I guess, the whole story, but I don't want to spend too much time on that today. But I've been coaching online for a really long time. I've been working with people about how to create a business in life that they actually love and that complement what they desire and how all of that works together. I'm really big on sustainability. I think that that's missing in a large portion of the online space, especially the things that you hear. People are telling you, do it this way, do it that way, but no, like this, and oh, like this. And they want to sell you this one size fits all way. And that's just not the way it is. That's very unrealistic. Everybody's business is different. Everybody's life is different. Some people have 7 kids. Some people have no kids. Some people have kids that they have 50-50 custody with, blah, 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 right? Everybody's life is different. So I have always operated from the principle of let's learn. I do have, baseline foundational things that I know help everyone, but I work with my clients very individually, to find out what works best for them and what's sustainable long term. So we don't just create small amounts of change, we create lasting change. That's the entire point. I don't want people to be with me, create a small amount of change, and then the next day it's all gone, or the next month it's all gone. That is defeating the purpose. I want you to get, the best bang for your buck, basically. With that being said, that's who I am. That's why I'm here. I've also along the way done a very, very extensive amount of coaching, hiring my own coaches, working on my own brand and mindset work. And I have dabbled in almost every area of business. So no matter what industry my clients are in, I'm always able to help them. They know their industry. I don't really have to. I have to understand how business works. So, and they work and how they want things to work. So that's what we do. And that's why I'm here. So I'm here helping because I believe that there's a lot of perspective and a lot of things that can be shifted to help people advance in the direction that they're wanting to go, without it being like a complete overhaul every single time, which is what I think we see the most of being pushed in our faces on the internet. So that is what we're doing here. And along the way, so much mindset work, so much emotional intelligence gained, so much human behavior study. I find myself a constant student of learning more about people and why we do what we do and how we do it. I do have a gift. I've had it since I was young, and I've actually only met 2 other people ever who have a similar gift, and one of them is actually one of my clients right now, but to where I have this ability to see the big picture of almost everything. To understand why each side does what they do. And it makes me a really good coach. It makes me a very understanding person. Sometimes in the past, it made me get taken advantage of a lot. But it allows me to be a good listener and compassionate. And overall, I think it allows me to be a much better person than I probably would be if I didn't have that gift. So it's a big thing when you can take a moment and be able to see where the other person's coming from. Doesn't mean you have to agree. Doesn't mean that they have to be right. But if you can take a moment and do that, it's a beautiful thing. It really can make a big difference. So, yeah. So here we are, chugging away on the season 2 of Operation B. And guys, to be honest, like almost every topic that we're going to be talking about is so vulnerable for me. So I hope you understand. I've been sharing online for a long time. I built my brand and reached as many people as I have from storytelling and being willing to tell stories about my own experiences in my own life. And then that's something I do think I feel very passionate about it. And when it comes to my health and what I've had to endure since I was a child, health-wise, that's something I really don't like to talk about. I've had to get better at it. I have to talk about it a lot these days. That is how I've gotten to be able to get to the place, like basically to get out of the depth of that I was in. So bear with me sometimes with these talks because they are very vulnerable. So today's topic is vulnerable and something that I think I've in the past had a hard time putting words to because it feels weird or dramatic almost to say. But it was honestly one of the most important decisions I made when I decided that I was going to do whatever it took to get healthy and to take control of what my body was doing and really what my body needed. I was going to stop letting my ego and my mind and my idea of what it meant to do and to be successful and whatever. I was going to stop letting that lead the show, which was basically a bunch of parts of me who were formed to move forward with that because that's what we thought we needed to do. And that was like the safe place, to operate from. I had to put down a lot of hats that I thought and felt were highly part of my identity and that were scary to not wear every day anymore. And like I kind of mentioned in the first episode of this season, there was moments of like, oh, what am I going to do now? Or feeling like I was turning the dial down on myself, like making myself smaller than I am. And I hate that, right? The world already does that to us a lot, especially as women. The world tends to ask us to be smaller and take up less space. And what I had to realize was that's not what this is. This is actually the path to me taking up all of the damn space that I want to without it sucking the life out of me, basically. So still as big of a presence in person as always, now being a little more strategic about how I share that and what I do with it. Because think about it. Everybody likes to talk about, oh, this is filling my cup. Is it filling your cup? Because if it's not filling your cup, it's not worth it. What about the fact that maybe you're only filling your cup up like an inch? You're not actually filling it up to the top every time that you quote unquote refill your cup. You're filling it up an inch. And so guess what? Then the next time you exert energy or emotion or time into something, you only have an inch of energy to go. So you're not actually, it's like you plug your phone in, right, for 5 minutes when it's dead and you might get like 15 or 20%. You're not getting 100% charge in 5 minutes. It's not happening. So then if you have the rest of the day to go through and you're like me and you run your business off your phone a lot, your battery is not going to last. And then you have to deal with it, right? What does that make you do? You have to stop and go sit down and plug it in somewhere. Or you have to buy one of those little handy dandy things that plugs into the bottom of it. But if you haven't charged that thing, then again, you're still dealing with only a tiny bit of the tiny bit of what you could possess and what you could have the power to do to work with, basically, if you look at it that way. I remember really early on when I've been working with the same therapist for 6 years. Very lucky to have found her. I've been able to be with her that long. And I remember very early on her telling me to think of my energy as like a pie or a battery, to where you only have so much to give. Like you don't have extra battery. When your phone dies, it dies. You don't have extra pie. When the plate is empty, like the pie plate is empty, it's empty. So we live in this world that makes us think that we have like extra pie and extra batteries to use. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. Once the battery's dead in your phone, it's dead until you plug it back in. Once the pie and that plate is gone, it's gone until you bake a new pie, which then requires supplies and time and all this stuff, right? So keep that in mind as I kind of lead through the topic, the big topic for today, which is the loneliness that happens when you're healing. When you're truly allowing yourself to do exactly what your body needs, it can be really lonely. Now, this conversation is going to be very twofold because there is a lot of healing in connectivity, in connection that you make with other humans. There's a lot of healing in that. And honestly, that has been a small part of my process simply because of how absolutely shot my battery has been for so long. And how much I was giving to everyone all the time of stuff I didn't even have to give. So there's like a backlog in us that happens sometimes. It takes a while. In my case, it's been a year before you can start to do the things you were doing before that involved engaging with other humans. So to be real, like I never stopped coaching clients. I did stop posting on social media. I did stop going out. I did stop going to events. I had to miss one of my favorite events this year. It sucked, but I had to. It was the best thing for me. I had to stop having long phone conversations with friends and family members. I have a friend, Deborah, who I met many, many years ago at an event in Vegas, and her and I used to talk every single week for years. I mean, it was heartbreaking, I know, for both of us, and I appreciate her so much for understanding in a way that I don't think a lot of people would have, and a lot of people haven't understood. Let's be real. A lot of people are pissed at me, and that's fine. But Deborah never was. She understood. But it was heartbreaking for both of us that we weren't able to talk anymore. But I knew that it's what I had to do, because no matter how nourishing those conversations would be, they were also, though, taking from me, and not in a bad way. So like, no, I'm not being negative when I say that. It's just the fucking truth, right? There's a lot of energy exchange that occurs in interactions that we don't give credit to. I mean, there's energy exchange every time you read a post that someone writes. Every time you scroll, there's an energy exchange between you and the people that you're engaging, your eyeballs are engaging with. Because think about it, when humans first became humans, we saw people that were directly in front of us, and that's it. That's why the TV can be so draining. And now we have our phone where there's 1,000 people in front of our face in 15 minutes. Like, if our body's like, whoa, our mind's like, that's a lot of people to engage with in a small period of time. So it just drains the battery. So during this, I am going to sit, and I had mentioned to you, I started crocheting. Like, I actually have, see this right here. If you're on the video, I crocheted this like special skinny can koozie cup because I've been drinking these like sparkling waters, and now I have these ones called Moment. If you haven't had them and you're like into your health and calming, you should try them. They're really delicious, and it's a female-owned small business, which is really cool. But the ingredients are good, but they're like have adaptogens and just different yummy stuff in them to like just chill out your system. I don't ever feel tired when I drink them, but I never feel jittery or any bad things either, and they were really good. Anyway, I crocheted that, right? Because I needed it, and I thought, I can make something to fit that. And so, yes, the crocheting helped me slow down, but what I had to realize was I had to change the way I was operating with other humans. Now, living where I live now, I'm pretty far away from everyone, which helps to an extent. Like, when you live in the middle of nowhere and you do have neighbors that are like semi-close to you, they live in the middle of nowhere for a reason too. So they're not like up your butt trying to knock on your door all the time. That's not how it is out here. Like, we all live out here for a reason, so we all give each other our space. It's been a blessing. It's a blessing that Tony, my fiance, also likes to kind of be a hermit, so he's been loving it because I'm not, dragging him around to different things, which he's like, I don't mind when we do that, but it has been nice to stay home. So that's been a blessing. It's been a blessing to have him. The internet's always been a blessing because that's where I can meet with my coach, my therapist, my doctor. I don't always have to go somewhere if my body didn't let me. But in the slowdown, it included changing and understanding even just a text exchange for more than one or two messages drains my energy. Even if before, when I was at full capacity, maybe it was just a smidge, just a sip out of the old cup. But now it's much more than that. And I can feel it because once you know, you don't unknow, guys. Like, that has been one of the massive things about this journey the last year and a half of health stuff is like once you know things about your nervous system or the effect that something has on your body or your energy levels, like you don't unlearn that. Like the day that I was told by a doctor how completely shot my adrenal glands were, I've had no caffeine since. Occasionally I'll have like part of a coffee if I'm out somewhere, but I don't have caffeine at all because I thought, oh my God, what a mean thing for me to do to drink more caffeine and hurt my adrenal glands more. How can I expect them to heal if I just keep like pouring acid on them, basically? So they're still healing. They're still not great. Like I still have lots of issues with energy and my body's just doing a lot. It's trying to navigate several things at the same time and also, 25 years of chronic pent up stress and emotion that I didn't let myself feel around my health. That stuff builds up, man. It gets stuffed down in a little hairy, scary, dark pocket somewhere. And then one day you have to deal with it, or it manifests as pain or chronic illness, things like that. All of which I experience. So when you start to notice that you have to control your output, what does that do? And at the same time, my input, like I haven't been able to read books much in the past year or so. Occasionally I would. I don't consume videos very well right now. And so I don't even try because if I can't do it in a way that feels like I'm really absorbing what someone's saying, it like doesn't feel great to me. So I do it a certain kind of way. And I just had to accept that none of this is wrong. None of this is bad. None of this made me less than amazing at my job or less than an amazing human. It didn't take away the value from all of the other things I've done and created and all of the other things I know I'm going to do and create beyond this point. I just know that this is such a necessary place for me to land so that I can go up another mountain or, just run through a valley of whatever it is I choose to keep creating. I think I won't be conquering any more mountains for a while after this. We'll let ourselves stay on flat land for a while. But it's just very important to realize that. So what comes with that when we start navigating our energy output differently? That includes how we communicate with people. Less text messages, less phone calls, less visits. Having to tell your parents like, hey, I love you, but I can't spend 16 hours talking about your health or, like I need to have these conversations in a way that we're respectful of the time and that we do things. And they're willing, but, they're retired now. And so if I wouldn't say that, there would be like, it's just like rambling on, which we all do. We all do this. And so when we're able to recognize this for ourselves and communicate it, people who really love us will be willing to adjust. They really will. Like I said, there are plenty of people who are not okay with the fact that I've had to be quiet. They're not understanding, and that's their own thing. And I've had to just accept that I can't navigate everybody else's emotional responses to things because, again, this much, 1 inch of energy in my battery pack, like I don't have it to give. So you have to be really realistic with yourself. Something I think is interesting about the whole humbling, or that I was going to say about the healing effect or the healing process that I'm going through, physical healing. So I'm talking very much of physical healing. This can apply to emotional healing as well. When I went through a lot of emotional and mental, financial healing, those kinds of things, I didn't do this exact process. I didn't feel it as necessary for this whole like mind, body, very backed up physical stuff. It felt really necessary. So, well, and not that just felt, has been like every doctor agrees. This is the path. So again, I'm lucky to have been able to really just fully sink into that, where I know not everybody could do exactly what I've done and stop all the other things. But at the end of the day, like I said, still working with my clients. I still got a new client in the middle of all of this, and I hadn't even been posting, because that's what happens when you build a really strong foundation and you're really honest and show up a certain way. A lot of my clients have told me like how refreshing it is to watch me practice what I preach, and how that has really been such a lesson for them too, because there are a lot of times that I have to what's the word, where I have to cancel or reschedule, but it happens every now and then, and I always reschedule. They don't miss out on time with me, and they don't have a problem with it because they know that that's me, like, walking my talk, you know? It doesn't make it easy. Like, I still don't like to do that, but sometimes I did make a promise to myself when I first started coaching. I made a promise to myself I would never fake it. I would never get on a phone call and fake it with them. And I tell people that it's literally written in my contract. I will not half-ass a call with you. So if I need to reschedule, there's a really specific reason why I need to reschedule. So they trust it, and I gotta just go with that. But yeah, I mean, that's really where it's at. And I like it. I like that I've built that. It is a humbling. What I was going to say was this healing process has been very humbling. It's created a much calmer version of me, which is a really powerful version of me. I think the world likes big and loud a lot, but what they don't realize is, and I've learned this from my time with Tony, is the guy that makes the biggest impact is typically not the loudest one in the room. It's just not the way it is. And so to be able to take up a lot of space but say no words is a really cool and powerful thing. To be able to trust that within yourself is a really cool and powerful thing. So I think that's my main deal, is just knowing that I'm able to trust the process, hold the vision, and honor, for the first time ever in my life, honor truly what my body is telling me that it needs. There's a piece of the puzzle that my coach likes to talk about, which we're still very much so working on, because you guys, this onion has got a lot of layers. Being a human being is complex. You're going to hear me say that 1,000 times through this season because it's just the truth. Being humans is a complex situation, and nobody likes to talk about that, but it is. So we have to take that into consideration when we're dealing with other humans. Because, again, it's complex. So if we're not able to recognize that it's complicated to be human beings and to have good relationships require work and all of these things, and how do we expect to exist together in harmony? Like, it wouldn't happen. It won't happen. Look at it. I mean, look around. We're not even going to go there, but like, look around of the fact, like, it's obviously not happening because we aren't doing that. It's not culturally taught, unfortunately. But one of the things, like I was going to say, we talk about a lot still is patching the holes in your boat. So similar to the concept of the cup or the battery analogy, you can think of having a boat and how when you're not dealing with the things that are draining you, there's like holes in your boat. So your boat keeps filling up with water. So what are you doing? You're constantly shoveling the water out, trying to make sure that your boat doesn't sink. Well, guess what? How can you ever feel replenished, rejuvenated, if all you're doing is taking buckets of water out of your boat all friggin' day long to try to make sure you don't sink? You never do feel regenerated. Does that happen to you? Because it happens to me. Rejuvenated, regenerated. You knew what I was getting at. Anyway, that's just real life, guys. That's what happens. Sometimes the words turn into, like, morph into their own version of something in our brains. But anyway, how can you ever feel rejuvenated and be able to grow truly and be present truly with your people the way you want to be if you never patch the holes in your boat? Because all of these things are literally pulling energy from you in all these different ways. When you start to think about it, like, I want you to think about that the next time your phone goes off and you immediately think you have to answer that person, or someone gives you shit because you didn't answer them fast enough. Like, no, other people do not get to dictate how quickly they get access to you unless they're paying for it. And it's outlined very specifically of what that expectation is. But even then, I ask that you probably don't do that. Here's what I do. Like, here's a great example. Way back in the day, I've been doing this for years. I turned off all notifications on my phone. I don't even get notifications when I get text messages usually. There's a couple of things that I'll, like, mark for notifications if something's going on. But most of the time, I have to go look in my messages. But I turned off notifications for everything, God, 10 years ago probably. Like, meaning I don't get notified if somebody messages me on Facebook or Instagram. I don't get notified if I get an email. I don't, none of that. You want to know why? People, if there's an emergency, an actual emergency, someone will call me. They will call you if there's an emergency. You do not need to be jumping the moment you get a message. You don't. There's no such thing. I refuse to believe it. I refuse. If people do business that way, here's the truth. If somebody wants to do business with you or wants to buy something from you and you don't respond to them immediately and they move on, you don't want that person as your customer anyway. You don't. Or set up an automation on the internet, like e-commerce, for example. Like, obviously, people, it's a buying game. You want to go around human behavior. People have very short attention spans. So with e-commerce, yeah, you want it to be really easy for them to be able to get what they want, what they're trying to get when they're trying to get it. And that's lovely, but that's not the same thing as having to respond to 1,000 messages. It's just not, that's not. You have it set up to where people want to buy that shirt. They buy that shirt right then and there. And that's how it works. That's great. You don't need to be attached to your phone. And if you are, I guarantee you're probably running like I was, where you have a very small amount of battery that you're barely recharging 75 times a day and you're just chasing your tail and you never really even feel a full breath, like a full deep breath. And that sucks, guys. Like, I know the feeling and I hate it when it happens still. It'll still happen sometimes. So I have reminders that go off on my phone every couple of hours that say things like, move slower, pause and take a breath, slow down, do you need a break? The reason is because I still am a doer in by nature. I want to do all the things, and I still have to sometimes get those reminders to make sure I don't go into like Tasmanian devil hyperdrive mode, which is unnecessary. There's a time and a place. Here's a great example. Gosh, how long has it been ago? It's like 6 weeks ago or a month ago. Tony was in a car accident. It was pretty serious. Somebody pulled out in front of him and it was really bad. So he calls me very calm because Tony is not a car person. So he does not, like, I would be upset about my car. He was not. But his nose was broken. It was a whole thing. He's okay, but it was scary in the moment. I handled it like a champ though. I didn't panic and none of that because again, you got to trust yourself to do what you need to do in the right moment. So what did I do? I cleared out the back of my car. I grabbed a laundry basket because I knew we were going to have to clear out his truck of all of his tools because he works out of his truck, And I texted my family. We were supposed to meet for dinner. I let them know, hey, this is what happened. I don't know my time frame, just letting you know. And I went. My brother was like, oh, you have 3 hours. It'll be fine. And I'm thinking, okay. I mean, I got no answer for that. It's going to depend on how the situation goes. So we go back or get there to the tow yard and we're unloading all of his tools. And I'm moving very quickly because it was super hot outside. We're trying to get it done. Of course, I can tell he's in pain, but we had to get he's got thousands of dollars worth of tools in the truck. We had to get him out so he could do business the next day, basically. Moved very fast. Lots of fast movement. This past year, lots of fast movement makes my body panic because of just how sensitive it had become to me ignoring it, basically. And so when I was done with that and we got in the car, our hands were all dirty. He does car things. Like, he does glass in big trucks. So does their auto glass, like the windshields and shit. So there's grease and all this stuff. So my hands were like black. We get back in the car. I'm like, do you need to stop at the gas station? What do you want to do? He's like, no, I want to go straight home. He has these like hand wipes we use to clean our hands. And I could feel him. And he asked me 3 times on the drive home, are you okay? Do you need anything? Are you okay? And I'm like, you know what? I think I am. Like, I actually am okay. And here's why. Because I got home about 30 minutes before we were going to have to meet my family for dinner. Could we have changed and gone to dinner? Yes. Could I have gone by myself? Yes. Tony didn't want to go. He was in a lot of pain. He didn't want to sit. Sitting in the car was very painful at the time because of the impact of like the airbag and all that stuff. So he looked at me and he goes, you're not going. And I was like, for the record, Tony doesn't tell me what to do. So don't go there. Very much so does not tell me what to do. He's like, you're not going, right? And I was like, I mean, I don't. And he goes, no, Jamie. And he was absolutely just calling me on an old behavior I would have done. I would have ignored what my body needed and I would have forced myself to go because that was the quote unquote right thing to do. And don't get me wrong, I wanted to go spend dinner with my family. I was bummed that we didn't get to go, but it was beyond our control. But I know that if I would have pushed myself to go there, that would have been a moment of disassociation, which I will do an entire episode about, of me disassociating out of my body where my body felt uncomfortable because I would have pushed it past its limit and I would have disassociated. And I know what happens when I do that. At the end of the day, my body goes into panic. So I actively chose to not go. And I went in the house and got the dogs out and ate dinner and, just calmed myself. And I did not have any kind of like visceral or emotional reaction to the rush and the rush of adrenaline and the entire thing that would have come from that. Now, a year and a half ago, I would have had a panic attack for sure. My body would have flipped its shit. It would have literally lost it. Because that's just the place that it had been driven to by so many years of me forcing things when I should have been listening to my body screaming like something's wrong. Now, granted, many of us wind up in this situation where we don't listen to our body because doctors look at us in the face for many years and tell us nothing's wrong with us. The whole invisible illness thing is real. There are plenty of, it happens all the time, unfortunately. So, with that being said, my body listened, my mind listened, and just believed, well, we just got to keep going, and there's no answer for this, there's no solution, so this is what we're going to do. And that's what landed me in such an extreme situation, was 20 plus years of that was just too much. And I have learned more about myself and humans and the human body in the past year and a half than I ever knew that I needed to know. And it's been enlightening to say the least. I've had to go way outside of the norm of American medicine, meaning every single thing I've found that has actually discovered what's wrong in my body has been through functional medicine, not through your Western medicine, like insurance covers doctors. I've gone to them, even ones who are supposed to look at you as a whole person, not just a regular GP, and still well, maybe you should change the products that you're using. Well, maybe it's your breast implants. And I'm like, well, I've been sick since I was in second grade, so it's not my breast implants, but thank you for that. I get it. Some people are very sick from them. That's not the situation here. My symptoms did not change after I got breast implants. That had nothing to do with it. That's also why I think a lot of times, to bring us full circle here, healing can feel really lonely because you feel isolated, but you also then are told that nothing's wrong with you by medical professionals, by friends and family members, because you don't look sick, so they don't understand. You get really tired of telling people that you're sick. You get really tired of talking about it and trying to basically defend yourself in the way that you're feeling, and that in itself drains your battery. So there's just a lot of aspects that can make healing feel really lonely. And I hope that me sharing this with you offers a little bit of that humbleness and empowerment that I described. If you do have questions about that, hit me up on any of the social platforms or email me at me@jamiethurber.com. That is listed below in the show notes if you need it. You can always ask questions because I want to be a voice to help people who feel like no one's listening. So I got you. No one listened to me besides my mother for a really long time. God love her. She'd been advocating for me before I knew what advocating was. So she still didn't get very far because we would have had to pay out of pocket. My parents that wasn't even an option back then, let's be real. Meaning there weren't functional medicine doctors available in the Midwest back then. They're barely even available here now. So anyways, I hope that this share was insightful and helpful. You don't have to be chronically ill to learn that you're draining yourself and not ever actually refilling your battery. We all do it, unfortunately. It's very common in our culture, and I really wish that we would stop because it's not helping. It's definitely hurting us as humans and as a society, and it's not cool. There should be no badge of honor for it because it's not cool. So my hope is that you can take whatever nugget from this and move forward into your day or into your week and feel better, do better, treat yourself better. As always, thanks for listening, and make sure if you liked the episode, you let us know. We love the feedback, and that's what allows us to keep making the show. So thanks for being here. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for listening to Operation B, the podcast. To support this message and to support the show, please make sure that you like, follow, and share the podcast wherever you enjoy listening. And be sure to leave us a review on iTunes. Thank you for being here, and see you next time.